Hey, kia ora guys, Chris and Harper here. I'm with Lee Timutimu, the founder of Arataki Systems and the Maori Tech Association. Morena, brother, how are you?
Morena, I'm good. Thanks, brother. Thank you for the re-invite. It's good to see you again and good to catch up for another kōrero.
Right, the kōrero with you was always pretty cool, and I think the last couple of conversations we had have been very valuable, brother. But that one question that I didn't tell you about before we started, but you've seen a few of the videos, so you should know by now. Hey, Ray, what was the number one skill or attribute that you needed when you first started out in business to be successful? And when I say number one skill or attribute, or what has been that number one thing that's really driven you to get to where you are now, bro?
Yeah, that's a really good question. He pātai pai. I think my response to that would be relationships, like being a really good relationship builder. As cliche as it may sound, it's really gotten me into certain spaces and positions and opened a few doors that have led to opportunity. And behind those relationships sit, really having a strong sense of self. And for us, it's a little easier because, we're pretty much connected to our cultural identity on a daily, and I'm no different, whether that's through the way that I think or the way that I look at the world as a Māori person, or even te reo. Well, I'm not fluent by any means, but, try and integrate it as much as I can into my day, even my business day. But I think relationships has been the key skill or attribute that's really helped me to grow everything that I touch, basically. And if I can just expand on that a little, we're really good at looking after people. I'm talking about ourselves as Māori, having grown in very within a culture that's very whānau-centric, hapu and marae centric for some of us, but we've grown up within these philosophies or concepts of manaakitanga and aroha ki te tangata and whanaungatanga and all those kinds of things. Whakapapa is really important to us as well, so that gives us our connection to our past, to our land, to things that are important to us, like culturally significant landmarks and all those kinds of things. But I think relationships is the one thing. When I first started out in tech, 20 plus years ago, the relationships thing was probably the thing that stood out really quickly. And what I mean by that is the way that we communicate and interact with people, the way that we humanize the process, the way that we break down the technical jargon to make it more understandable to the layman's person, or to people that are just trying to understand. I started out in support services, so IT help desk, and I think it was a great place for me to start, and I actually think it's a great place for our rangatahi that might be looking to pathway into tech. It's a great place for them to start as well, because we can leverage and utilize all of these inherent attributes that we have around looking, basically genuine care and looking after other people, looking after other human beings. It's so innate in our culture, and it's something that we've been raised with, and that's just it permeates the existence of everything that we are, and certainly myself. So I started out on the phones. I was really great at talking with people. I was really great at sussing people out in that first 30 seconds, maybe even shorter time, to figure out what type of person they were, where they were sitting in terms of
you're basically qualifying them and just
qualifying them, but in a conversation, right? And then adjusting the conversation accordingly so that you could make it sound as natural and free flowing as possible. It's actually a real skill, actually. But because I had all of those innate attributes, where I would do that with my family, with my friends, with people in the community, so being raised with those innate attributes of whanaungatanga, manaakitanga, aroha ki te tangata, and all those things that make us who we are, made it so easy for me to excel, basically. And I remember my first job was with a company called Axon Computer Systems, and they no longer exist. They morphed into something else. But I started out tier 1, level 1 help desk. Never done the job before in my life, never been on the phone talking to anyone else in that sort of support service role ever before in my life, but I excelled in that role. I think I won in my first 6 months. They had like this staff of the week thing, like on the service desk. This is the whole service desk, right? There's hundreds of people on the service desk. I think I won it probably like 6 times.
So you would have had the photos all up on the wall, be like, Lee,
not quite the photo, but they gave vouchers, bro. So that was even better. So I would get like $100 Westfield voucher or something or other. I was like, man. Cool. And so the first one was awesome. I was like, wow, that's cool. Wow, well, I must be doing something right. But then I got the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth one. It became obvious that I was really good at communicating with people in that sort of environment, in that context, people that I've never met before in my lifetime, let alone spoken to them on the phone. So as you know, cold calling or that phone call thing is so much harder to engage with someone when you don't see them and you've not don't know them from a bar soap.
Yeah, absolutely it is. It's pretty tough. I mean, relationships, it's absolutely key, especially in the New Zealand market. But as you said yourself as well, is I think it's actually really caring, actually giving us stuff. Because sometimes
that's exactly right.
In business, people talk about relationships and all that, but some people just give a bit of lip service. But when you actually, you care about your role and you care about other people, then that does become a lot easier, because as you said, when you're on the phones, yes, you care about it and you've sort of,
that's right,
you've grown up in that environment, so it's easier. But one thing that you said before, bro, is that strong sense of self. That really sort of resonated with me. Can you talk me through? It's one thing to talk about having a strong sense of self, but how do you build a strong sense of self?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And the reason why it's a good question for me, and I'll try and craft my response accordingly, is that I think having grown up in a very close-knit whānau, born in Whakatane on the Eastern Bay of Plenty, brought up by my solo mum, single mum, raised me since I was 9 years old, and she's still living with me today, still raising me. Cool. Even today, I'm 48 years old now. But I was very fortunate and very lucky that I grew up in a very close and loving and caring and supportive family environment that was provided to me by my mum's family. So I affiliate more to my mum's whakapapa, which is Ngāti Awa on my mum's side, and I always will, and till my last day, basically. And although I affiliate to other iwi through my dad, obviously, and through other iwi that I whakapapa to, I think for me, knowing knowing where I come from, and also knowing that I have a family that has supported me over the years, even to this very day, has been imperative to the way that I've grown and developed as a human being, as an individual. And of course, there's been challenges that have happened along the way, as happens to all of us. But I think I also think that understanding whakapapa is probably the thing for me that means the most in terms of my Māoritanga or my Māoriness, or who I am as Māori. There's not many, dare I say it, there's not many people that can say, I whakawhapa to this iwi, and this is the land that we are connected to. Obviously, for Indigenous peoples, it's normal. It's normal for Indigenous peoples to be connected through their genealogy to a particular place or a piece of land. But for many, it is not. For many, particularly New Zealanders, I dare I say it, New Zealanders here in at the moment, they don't have that same sense of connection or identity. And even though if they were to delve a little deeper and research into their actual genealogy, they might find something. For me, for example, I'm Māori, yes, but I'm also Scottish. My great-grandfather was a full Scotsman, actually. So I whakapapa to Scotland, which is amazing, because I will go there one day to connect with that heritage. But I think for me, just knowing my whakapapa first and foremost gives me that obviously strong sense of identity, cultural identity. Now, the self-identity thing is something that I grapple with on a daily basis. And what I mean by that is, I think it's the way that you look at yourself and the way that you value yourself. So self-worth, self-value, confidence, and all those sorts of things, bro. And I know these are things that we talk about often, and we should talk about a lot more. But even for me, that's someone that's perceived as being working on a lot of really good mahi, a lot of impactful initiatives. maybe even being a successful person, but behind all of that is the real person that's struggling with the day-to-day sort of challenge of dealing with my own self. Right? It's like I said it in a wānanga a couple of weekends ago. I put up a slide or a picture of myself, and I said, "This is my greatest challenge. This is my greatest adversary."
So a picture of you, was it?
Yeah, it was a picture of me, and then everyone's looking at me, and I said, so take from it what you will, but right now at this moment in time, my biggest challenge is myself. And I just left it at that. So again, take from that what you will, but I think that's what I mean by self, sense of self. I think I'm still sort of trying to grapple with that. I'm still trying to manage that on a daily, and I think as things get busier and more hectic in my life, both in my business and initiatives that I work on outside of my business, and then my family layer as well, that's gonna probably still be there and something that I still need to work on, but it's just part of life, I guess.
And it's talking about it that it's okay as well, because I think sometimes when you see people that are successful and all that, and you think everybody's got their shit together, but we've all got our own shit going on. We always sort of have, but it's just, making a space to talk about that and being open to that, because everybody's got their own stuff going on, and it's just
Agree.
Successful or not, and whole part of creating a lot of these conversations is to talk about stuff like this. So, Lee, thank you so much for your time, bro. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate your openness and your honesty, and look forward to working with you and taking action on the initiatives that we discussed earlier, bro. But thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, brother, and I really appreciate the time and space again to share kōrero and to share whakaaro. Thank you very much.